Have you ever asked yourself late at night, am I really living the life I want? Have you ever wondered if your everyday actions come from your heart, or are they merely a product of habit, obligation, or fear? Welcome back to the channel. I'm honored to have you here. Today's topic dives into a question that many of us avoid but can no longer ignore. Are we truly living willingly? Or are we, in truth, silently tracked by expectations, guilt, and subconscious patterns? Let me share with you the wisdom that shattered my illusions and helped me begin again from the inside out. The inspiration for this story came from the simplest of places. There's a small card on a donation box at a temple. It said only one sentence, "Live willingly." That's it. Oh, dramatic poetry, oh, ancient scripture, just those two words. But those words were like thunder in my chest. Live willingly. That day, I paused in front of that card for longer than I expected. My heart began to pound, and not because I was excited, but because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't sure if I was living willingly. Thought about my job, about my relationships, about the daily routines that consumed my time. And I started to wonder, how many of those things did I choose? How many were things I simply accepted because it seemed like I had no option? And most of all, how many of them did I do with resentment quietly growing inside me? Remember, my child, with my mother waking up early to make breakfast, hurrying to her job, coming home late, and still helping us with homework, cooking dinner, and cleaning the house. You never complained. You never rested. You gave us everything. Yet once, when I came home with a low test score, he didn't scold me. He simply looked sad and said, "I've given you so much and still." That look, that sentence burned into my memory. It wasn't anger, it was disappointment wrapped in exhaustion. And it made me realize that sometimes love that is not given willingly can become a burden, not just for the one giving, but for the one receiving. Years later, I became a parent myself, and when I found myself doing the same as sacrificing without joy, giving without boundaries, helping while secretly hoping for acknowledgement, I realized the same question had come for me again: am I doing this willingly? So, what does it really mean to live willingly? In the Buddhist view, it's not about avoiding pain or difficulty. Life, after all, is suffering, as the first noble truth teaches. But what makes the suffering meaningful or unbearable is whether it is chosen with awareness or endured with resistance. Live willingly means to bring consciousness into every choice, to say yes with a full heart, or to have the courage to say no when your soul whispers against something. It's not about being selfish, it's about being real. I once met a woman at a meditation retreat. He was a brilliant graphic designer who had, for 10 years, worked at a corporate firm. He had a good salary, a nice apartment, and the kind of job title that made her family proud. But every time he sat down to draw, he felt numb. Real passion had always been to create children's books, but every time he brought it up, people told her it was impractical, unstable, unrealistic. So he gave up the dream. Until her mother got sick. During the long hospital visits, he began sketching again, this time for the children in the pediatric ward. One day, a small girl said, "This is the only thing that made me smile today." And that was it. He quit her job, not out of rebellion, not out of anger, but out of alignment. he had finally remembered what it meant to live willingly. He told me, "I'm still scared sometimes, but I'm not empty anymore." This story stayed with me because I realized how often we bury our desires under duty. We call it maturity, responsibility, sacrifice. But sometimes it's just avoidance. Avoidance of conflict, of disappointment, of change. We become performers in our own lives, acting out roles handed to us by family, society, culture, and calling it a purpose. But the truth is, a life that isn't willingly lived, even if it's successful, is a prison. Remember reading a passage from a Buddhist monk who said, "Suffering becomes unbearable when we believe we have no choice." That line struck me, because the illusion of having no choice is one of the deepest lies we tell ourselves. You do have a choice. Maybe not in your circumstances, maybe not in your obligations, but always in how you hold them, the intention behind them, and the awareness with which you walk through them. Knew a man who had to take care of his father, who was paralyzed from a stroke, whose heart every day was physically and emotionally draining, but I never once heard him complain. He said, "I do this willingly. Don't do it because I have to. Do it because one day he changed my diapers. I'll return the kindness. It's not a burden, it's my honor." Will you see the difference? He wasn't a victim of duty. He was a servant of love. And love, when given freely, heals everyone it touches, including the giver. But when love is coated with resentment, it wounds everyone. So how do you know if you're living willingly? Start by asking yourself, when I say yes, do I feel open or tight inside? When I help others, am I fueled by joy or guilt? When I look at my calendar, does it reflect my priorities or someone else's? Am I moving through my life awake or half asleep? It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about noticing, about slowly shifting from autopilot to awareness. A few years ago, I started a practice of asking myself one question before saying yes to anything. Can I do this with a willing heart? If the answer is no, I don't say yes. Or I take a moment to find a way into willingness. Sometimes that means reframing. Sometimes it means adjusting boundaries. Sometimes it means letting go. And slowly, things changed. Not drastically, but meaningfully. Stopped agreeing to social events out of guilt. Stopped overcommitting at work to prove my worth. Started choosing rest without apology. Started creating again, not for approval, but for the sheer joy of it. And most of all, I stopped blaming others for my stress because I had finally remembered my power to choose. There's a story of a Buddhist teacher who was once asked, "What is the highest practice?" He replied, "To live every day with a willing heart." That doesn't mean you'll never get tired. It means that even when you are tired, you know why you're walking. You know who you're walking for. And most importantly, you know that it is your choice to walk. So if you're watching this and something in your chest feels tight, or your eyes are watering, or your breath just slowed down, maybe it's because your soul is ready to choose again. Not to run away, but to return to what matters. Your own willingness. Thank you for watching this video. If anything in today's story resonated with you, share it in the comments. What part of your life have you been living unwillingly, and what small choice can you make today to reclaim your heart? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and consider joining our community to keep the conversation going. And most of all, I hope you wake up tomorrow and ask yourself, can I do this with a willing heart? If not, maybe it's time to begin again. Thank you for watching.